really excited to speak with you today. I've got a variety of questions for you. So let's just jump in here. So you played for the Clowns in 1977 and 1978, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I bet you have a bevy of stories to tell. But let's kind of start more at the beginning. So before suiting up for the Indianapolis Clowns, you started for Oberlin High School, the Oberlin High School Indians in center field.
Yes, sir.
What do you have? Oh, look at that. All right. Awesome. Hey, well,
number 28.
Number 28. Well, fantastic.
Veda Pinson.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, another stud. Can you share with us a little bit about your upbringing and kind of how you fell into the game of baseball?
It started in Southern Ohio. I was born down in Chillicothe, Ohio. And my dad took a job up in Oberlin, working for like the National College bookstores, because you got Oberlin College there and all that. But anyhow, long story short, it was all set to go on a field trip to a maple syrup camp in Chillicothe. Had my lunch packed and everything. And my dad came home, packed us up in a U-Haul, or packed up a U-Haul, and we were in the car. And I never got to go to that field trip. So I was really upset about that.
I bet you were bummed.
I woke up and 3 hours later, I'm in Oberlin.
My goodness. So yeah, Chillicothe to Oberlin.
Yeah, 1966.
Fantastic. Okay. So, and then you just kind of fell into baseball kind of organically, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm one of 4 boys in the family, and I was the only one that's left-handed. My dad had a box of baseball gloves because he grew up in a big family. There's 10 of them. And all these baseball gloves, none of them fit me. So I had to put the glove on the wrong hand and learn how to catch. So from then on, my dad was a Cincinnati Reds fan. But when we came to Northern Ohio, I became a Cleveland Indian fan.
So growing up, who are some of your favorite Indians, Jay?
Vic Davalillo, Louis Tiant. Like I said, Veda Pinson is one of my big idols. Those were kind of the main ones that I really enjoyed. I mean, in the later years, and when they started making their approach to the playoffs and World Series and all that. And Kenny Lofton, everybody used to call me Kenny Lofton, but he stole my game. I didn't steal his game. I'm ordering
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kenny Lofton's a lot of people don't realize he's an Indiana guy who's born in East Chicago, Indiana. Yeah. So, standout high school player, obviously. How did the Indianapolis Clowns become an option for you after you got out of high school?
Well, what happened was I only played 1 year of high school baseball.
Okay.
We had what was called Hot Stove League, during the summer, and that was a traveling league. I did that from the time I was 9 years old up until 15. You couldn't play after 15. So then it's either you go to American Legion or you're done and you're starting to play softball or less. But when I played 1 year of high school baseball, that was my sophomore year in high school. And we got kicked out of the conference because the upperclassmen and that wanted to buy some beer on the bus.
Oh, no.
So obviously, after a game, the beer gets warm in your gym bags, and they're buying quarts of beer. There's like 14 quarts of beer in these guys' bags. And they took up a collection, and I threw my 50 cents in. Never got to drink any of that beer, but sure got suspended because as a team, our coach had pulled the bus driver over because he smelled the fumes and confiscated the beer except for like 4 quarts.
Oh,
and the upperclassmen said, we're going to hold a team meeting. We're in this together. We're all going down together. Well, we didn't. When we got in the office with the principal the next day, they individually interviewed us about it. And I figured we're a team. We're going down together.
That's what you guys all agreed on.
Three of us were like, basically convicted of, and the rest of the guys got to go to prom and all that, but yeah, so I was a sophomore and we got kicked out of the conference. So my last game as a high school ball player, I hit inside the park homer.
No,
so I was
okay.
pretty happy about that.
Well, hey, I was ended on a high note, even if maybe the ending was a little less than savory as far as
right. We got suspended for 10 days and it was made in the newspaper.
Oh man.
But of course they couldn't put our names in the paper.
Right. That's fair. Oh gosh. So all right, so then you played in the Hot Stove League, and with that been then how would the Clowns have kind of come onto the radar?
Okay, so after that, I went to Norwalk, Ohio, and I played American Legion baseball for Norwalk. So I did that 2 seasons. Took a couple of buddies with me the following year, and from there, it's like, hey, here I am. I'm going into my senior year in high school, and playing in Norwalk. There's a few scouts out and coaching American League or scouting American Legion. Scott Fletcher, who was one of them from Wadsworth, played for the Sox.
Oh yeah.
But I found out that there were some guys that were looking at me and that. And next thing I got a letter. I got a couple letters from Major League Scouting Bureau that there was tryouts all around the country. So I went to a few tryouts and found out that there was an opportunity to go down and play instructional league in Fort Lauderdale with the Yankees. So I did that. Went down. There was a guy who was a scout, bird dog scout. That was Charlie Rhodes. He was part of the Ed Charles. He was a New York Met. Was Ed Charles, who played Major League Baseball for the Mets. But yeah, he was kind of a descendant of Ed Charles. So he had a house and he liked to exploit ball players. So I got on a plane on January 23rd of 1975. Or I'm sorry, 76. It was, started going to my senior year because I got my credits together and I was out of school in December.
Gotcha.
So all I had to do is come back to Ohio and march with my class in June. So in the meantime, I'm in spring training. Left Ohio kind of like it is now, snowing. 2 hours later, I'm in a pair of shorts in a phone booth calling my parents, letting them know that I made it in Fort Lauderdale. And I went to a house. There's 7 guys already in the house, and we're sleeping on the floors with sleeping bags and that. No curtains in the house. That was the first opportunity. So I was like, 7 o'clock in the morning, you got to be up because you got to be at the ballpark at Fort Lauderdale Stadium at 7 in the morning. And from then I was in awe because there was guys down there, Reggie Jackson, Mickey Rivers, which I was kind of idolized him as well.
Oh yeah.
But basically we were just like kind of shagging fly balls, ground balls, and that's for those guys. And then at the end of the practice, we got to hit, and then they would tell us what our flaws are and so on and so forth. And did that. I was down there for, in Fort Lauderdale, and then one of the guys that we were playing with, that we housed with, he was already signed with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he was playing for Charleston Charlies. He was a Keystone combination with Willie Randolph.
Oh, wow.
And Steve couldn't hit his way out of a paper bag, and but he had the van. He had the decked out conversion van because he was getting paid. We weren't.
Yeah.
He had already signed, so he couldn't. He was down there to learn how to hit. But he ended up getting me into the camp down in Miami with the Orioles. So we go into camp, had a couple tryouts with them. Now I see Eddie Murray.
Oh yeah.
And when I saw Eddie Murray, he was basically being a catcher. They were taking the jugs machines and shooting them straight up in the air. And here's this guy with a big afro, but not bigger than mine. I have the biggest afro around. People say, "Oh, it's like Oscar Gamble," but No, it was better than that. But anyhow,
Better than Oscar.
That's my story. I was down in spring training for 8 weeks. When they broke camp, I was down there for another 2 weeks before I came back, April 23rd to Ohio, and ended up walking with my class. And I had heard about the Clowns because one of the guys that was down there, Curtis Wallace, he had played one season already with the Clowns. So he said after spring training, after instructional league, he was going back to go travel and play with the Indianapolis Clowns. And I'm like, wow, that sounds cool, you know. So I got back to Ohio, and you know, I kept in touch and kind of heard about, you know, that they were do tryouts. So tryouts were out in Muscatine, Iowa. George Long, it was George Long, he was the owner. And so I get the call from him, and he invited me out for the tryouts. So I go out to Muscatine, Iowa, and it was 1 day only tryout. And made the team. You know, we keep 12 ball players because we travel in a checker aero limo.
Oh,
you know, a checker.
yeah.
With all the bags that go on top of in the carrying luggage rack up top of the car. And I have pictures of that too. You know,
that is.
So that's how that got started. And you know, played the one summer, and then I went to Sioux Empire College in Hawarden, Iowa, and played for Bob Cerv, who was a Yankee for 9 years, and a lot of World Series
Cerv,
yeah. Played 2 years with Bob Cerv.
Wow.
Tough coach, man.
That's fantastic.
And he would always say
Mantle, and he was on those. Yeah.
Mantle Maris. Yeah.
Oh.
He got traded to Kansas City A's for like Roger Maris and so on.
Oh my gosh, that's.
Oh, Maris is from North Dakota. Bob Cerv's from Wahoo, Nebraska. You know.
Yeah. Remote places. It always like kind of random that Maris was from up there. Well, if I may just jump in really quick.
Go ahead.
So the Indianapolis Clowns, of course, as some of the viewers and listeners may be aware, the owner of the Indianapolis Clowns, like that position came with some notoriety. For the longest time, it was, of course, Sid Pollock, who had him in the heyday, signed Hank Aaron to the Clowns, who then eventually sold the team to one of the guys who worked for him for the longest time, an actual clown named Ed Hammond. And then Hammond, of course, had the team till the early 70s when he sold the team to George Long. Now, I have to say this because I was doing some digging on George Long, and of the three, though probably maybe the least recognizable name, easily the best baseball man. And I dug this out of the Quad City newspaper. Long's career, so he had as you mentioned, based in Muscatine, Iowa. He managed the semi-pro and owned the semi-pro Muscatine Red Sox to 67 consecutive winning seasons.
Yeah.
And it says, quote here, along the way, Long managed teams that included Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron. He managed against Satchel Paige and Dizzy Dean. So 67 years in baseball, and I think a good chunk of that he spent owning the Clowns. What was George Long like?
George Long, he traveled with us for like 2 to 3 weeks out of the whole season.
God love him.
And he had 2 change of clothes, one on his back and one in a paper bag with 24 green apples. That's what he had. And there would be apple juice spilling all down his shirt. And when we'd get to a town, he'd just go walking and advertise. He'd go around and advertise that we're in town. And he's just kind of an old hillbilly guy, you know. George Long. If you can't hit, you can't. I got to send you home. I can't afford to feed you.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic.
$5 a day.
I'm telling you, Jay, I was reading about him and I was like, I have got to ask about this guy because he just seems like, I mean, just a baseball lifer. And
it was.
I think they said he bought the Clowns when he was in his late 60s. Does that sound about right, Jay?
Oh yeah, he had to be in his 80s when I played.
Oh my God.
And he was in great shape. Like I said, he walked. As soon as you get into town, that guy walked, and we'd drive by and see him walking on another side of town. He's just constantly walking and basically advertising his teams in town.
Oh, absolutely. And he's quoted here saying in 1995 that he was going to, this is in 1995, mind you, that he was going to give up the Muscatine Red Sox when he got old. So his what he thought of old probably differs from what most of us did. So, so the Indianapolis Clowns were the absolute last among their kind in the barnstorming ranks and a staple of the old Negro Leagues dating back to the 40s. So as a young man, were you aware of the reputation and the longevity of the Clowns when you joined the team? And, you know, you had your one day, you had your tryout and you're offered that spot.
Yeah. I didn't know a whole lot about them other than I knew that Hank Aaron played for the Clowns for a short time. And I said, wow, this is the team that, you know, he played for, and Satchel Paige. But I learned a lot of that after I started playing for him. Yeah. Paul Casanova and all those guys, you know. But yeah, you know, I'm trying to dig up this picture of George Long on them.
I was gonna say, it looks like you were probably digging through the archives there.
Yeah, I got plenty of archives.
And Jay, I got to tell you, I told you this before we were recording. I do appreciate the fact that you're donning your Clowns jersey and your Clowns cap. Yeah. Man, that is amazing. I'm still in my work clothes, so you look a lot cooler than me for this thing here.
Yeah, here's the same jersey.
Oh yeah, there you go. That Hank Aaron.
Yeah, that's Hank Aaron and his Clowns. Yeah,
that's awesome. Oh, that's great. I was gonna say, I'm staring over there at my Indianapolis Clowns hat. I was half tempted, but I'll let it sit.
Well, this one here is one of the ones that we wore too while we were playing for the Clowns.
Oh,
we were blue and gold.
Oh, blue and gold, fantastic.
Yeah. And then like I had this one because Birmingham Sam gave me this jersey because only the special guys kind of got that. You got to be in the act. You get in the shadow ball act and all that stuff, and you make more money.
Let me just cut it. So one of the things I was really excited to speak to you about is some of these just legendary Clowns players. So, and legendary is the only way to describe guys like Birmingham Sam Brison and Bobo Small. So Small said back in 1978 that he was 31 years old at this time, but he still thought he could make
it. Sure he was.
31, yeah.
Yeah, right.
He still said I think I could make it to Major League Baseball on the back of his smoke, so his fastball, and he said he had a really good curveball though. Mm-hmm. So as a hitter, what is your personal assessment of Bobo's pitching prowess, and can you tell us what Birmingham Sam was like?
First of all, Birmingham's the best player I ever played with, and him being the Clown Prince as well. You can see this. He's playing on first. He's sitting on first base in a chair.
Oh, can you raise it just a little bit for us, Jay? There we go. Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and then yeah, he's got holding the guy. That's in Grand Junction, Colorado, where he's holding a runner on in first base, sitting in a chair. But he was drafted by Cincinnati Reds. Same time Dave Concepcion. He went home back to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and his best buddy's brother shot him in the neck at point blank. Oh. They got into a little ruckus in the bar, and he had him down. And he shot him through the neck, and it came out the backside, and that like ruined him to go to spring training after he had gotten drafted. Man. And he still had a gun. He could field the ball at shortstop, drop down to his knees, and throw you out. And he could throw the ball between his legs from behind home plate on a loop right down to second base. He could lay behind he'd lay behind the home plate and catch. He played every position.
Oh yeah.
And the Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars Motor Kings movie, Billy D. Williams, James Earl Jones, Richard Pryor, Birmingham, those hands with everything that Billy D did, those were Birmingham Sam's hands. Gripping the ball, the invite pitch, all that stuff. But best ball player, you can go up the plate with backwards, jump around, hit the ball.
I was gonna say I saw a picture of him, Jay, in the newspaper where instead of having the bat like this, he'd have the bat in front of him, and just
And Bobo could take 3 baseballs. Bobo could line up 3 guys like catchers, and he'd take 3 baseballs and he could throw a strike to each one of those guys. His hands were pretty big.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. So the shadow. So, and one thing that I picked up about you, Jay, is you were not, I don't think you could be an Indianapolis Clown and be a passive observer of some of this stuff, but I did see where you and Sam used to do a canoe routine.
Yes, sir.
And I saw that in the paper. And so I was like, I can't forget to ask Jay about that.
Yeah. Did you see the actual one of he and I?
No, I saw it written. I just saw it in ink. I didn't see any pictures of.
You see that?
Yeah, I do.
I'm laying on the ground. That's part of the shaft. That's part of the rowboat.
Raise it up just a. Oh, I'm sorry, Jay. Raise it up just a smidge. Oh, there you are. Okay. Oh my gosh.
That's our rowboat act.
That's unreal.
I don't know how if you know how that went down, but
I'm assuming you use the bats as oars, correct?
As oars, yes.
Okay, walk us.
We'd capsize.
Okay.
And then I couldn't swim. I still can't, but I'm drowning. So now he always called me Junior because that's what Satchel Paige used to call him, Junior.
Okay.
Because he was more of a brother figure than a father figure to me,
Okay.
But he would say Junior. So like when we're doing the act, so already before we go out, I got a mouthful of water. Okay. And you got to hold it so people don't see your jaws all puffed out.
Right.
But I held my water very well. So after we capsized, and he'd be like, Junior, you okay? So he'd lift up my leg. I squirt water. He lift up the other leg. I squirt water. He lift up my arm. I'm squirting water. Other arm, squirt water. And then he steps on my stomach. That's when it comes out. All the rest of it comes out, and I jump up to myself and go chase him.
Oh, Jay, you had to hold the water for that thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like, gosh, that's fantastic. And I don't know if you ever heard of the Indianapolis. Of course, King Tut and Spec Bebop.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Dero Austin, the midget.
They're Austin,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Billy Vaughn, Dero Austin. They were the midgets. We had Steve Anderson, who played first base with one arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
And he was in the movie with Bingo Long. Steve, Birmingham, Rico Dawson. Yeah.
So that's I appreciate you sharing that. That is just I mean, that's what someone in Sid Pollock's book, or I think maybe it was his son wrote the book actually, said that.
Well, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just something that I've just long respected about the Clowns is that someone said that when you watch the Clowns play, aside from being obviously incredibly skilled in a multitude of ways, which I'm going to ask you about here in a second, but they just seem to kind of get right here and they sit with you and they crawl up right next to your heart and they kind of make you remember. I mean, this is a fun game. This is how it's supposed to be played in a way that is fun and entertaining, not stodgy. So I just really appreciate that. So I was going through the paper and I have to ask you this. So on July 9th, 1978, in a stray issue of the Elyria Chronicle Telegram, they gave a report about you that you, through 20 games of the season, you were batting right around the 400 mark. So I got to ask, I'll just ask point blank, how big of a stud were you out there at center field and in the batter's box?
Yeah, doesn't matter. My nickname is Dr. Deuce.
Okay.
Because you walk me, you're walking a double, possibly a triple. So I'm a base stealer, pretty much a slap hitter. I can get some power every now and again, which I'd probably hit 7 home runs as an Indianapolis Clown.
Okay.
But the thing was, is that as far as I led off. I'm a lead off hitter. So got to get on, got to move around, and then we got to play behind Birmingham and Bobo because who knows where they're going to be. They might not even be on the field. They could be up in the stands messing around with somebody.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, defense was my thing. Base running was my thing, So I'm not afraid to dive for a ball. I broke my wrist breaking up a double play. I broke my wrist twice within 6 weeks, diving and taking somebody out on a double play. And as when you were talking about the Muscatine Red Sox, they were like the Washington Generals to us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. They beat a lot of teams, but when they played us, they were like the Washington Generals.
I got you. Good Harlem Globetrotters reference, just in case anybody missed that. Okay, so I've kind of followed your seasons when the Clowns, and kind of followed you guys through the newspapers trail, if you will, and you guys played everywhere. I was gonna say, and we're talking about this before we started recording. So tell us like what the average summer looked like. You spent a lot of time looking at the inside of a bus window.
Yeah.
So yeah, go for it.
We would pretty much get together right before Memorial Day, and that's when they'd do tryouts again. Which after my first year, I didn't have to worry about. So they would, like I said, we need 12 guys. So a lot of times Bobo wasn't allowed to go. His wife, he had plenty of kids, so But Birmingham Sam was there from the time, But anyhow, we'd only have spots for like 2 or 3 guys, that weren't returning, So
Gotcha.
We get on the road. In the first game, we'd play against the Muscatine Red Sox. And then after that, we're on the road. We don't return to Muscatine until the end of the season. So we traveled. At that year, the 2 years I played, the guys that were on the team, everybody played in their home state except for myself. I never got to play. The closest I got to Ohio was Danville, Illinois. And then isn't there Danville, Indiana too?
There is actually.
Yeah. That's close as I got to my home. Other than that, we were in the South, which I don't like South. We can talk about that another, whatever.
You got it.
The Midwest, we traveled as far as Utah, Idaho, Montana, New Mexico, Colorado.
Oh my goodness.
And all of that checker arrow limo.
Yeah, that is just.
So if you didn't get a hotel that night, you got riding money.
Okay.
Riding money, you got $2 extra for riding money. So George Long paid you $5 a day. That's meal money.
Okay.
So you eat a lot of McDonald's and Burger King. And then you had $5 a day. If you didn't get a hotel, you got an extra $2. There's $7. And then I was in the shadow ball and in the show. So I got an extra $5. So most of the times I was getting $11 to $12, $13 a day. And I couldn't even spend it.
Right. 12, 13.
We'd play 2 games in 2 different cities in one day.
So you guys were just busy. And as you mentioned, and it was from top to bottom. You said for the 2 weeks that George Long was there, the bus would stop and he'd get out and start kind of banging the drums, so to speak.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is unreal.
Yeah, he had these. He brought a lot of these around.
Oh my goodness. So is that 1976 or 77?
This was 48th season was 70. 48th season was 77.
My goodness.
I played 48th and 49th. The 50th year, we were really hoping for a big celebration, and we were kind of falling apart at that point in time.
Right, because I know the Clowns were able to kind of hang on until actually I think through the mid to late 80s until finally ceasing operations. So What did you do after you, if you don't mind me asking, what did you do after you got done playing baseball, after you hung the proverbial spikes up? You're obviously still a sports fan, but.
Oh, absolutely. Well, after my first year playing with the Clowns, that's when I went to play for Sioux Empire Community College in Hayward, Iowa. So, and that's when I played for Bob Cerv.
Gotcha.
So, and then after that season's over, I go back and play for the Clowns, and then come back and play at Sioux Empire College. And then after that, in '79, after I left Sioux Empire College, I went to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, played for Sioux Falls College, and now they're called the University of Sioux Falls. Back then, we were Sioux Falls College.
Gotcha.
So I finished my 2 years, so did 2 more years there. So that ate up my 4 years at college, and majored in theater because I said after baseball, I guess I'll become an actor. You
majored in theater.
Yeah, communications and theater. Yeah.
Did you ever end up getting into any acting gigs or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I had to do that. Yeah, I was part of my major. Yeah, I had to do as a senior project direct a 1-act play.
Okay.
And I was in some other plays, and I was a juggler. I was a clown, and I believe that was called the Mad Woman of Shiloh play. I was the clown, so I'm the clown's outfit on, and I got my baseballs. I painted them orange, so I can juggle.
Okay.
Balls. So I did that as part of an act in one of the plays, and then the other one it was when I was the Pillow Talk was another one. And I was like a policeman in that.
Okay.
But yeah, and I was offered a job for the Sioux Falls, South Dakota TV station, KSFY, to do like T-grip and camera. But for what they were willing to offer, I was working for UPS when I was in college. So it wasn't work. I worked for UPS for 4 hours a night. And play baseball during the day for college and all that, and I go in and work UPS at 9 o'clock at night to 2 in the morning, and I did that for 2 years, and then I went into management with UPS, and they wanted me to relocate and so on and so forth, and I decided that's not what I wanted to do, so I quit my job, drove home from Rapid City, South Dakota, which is a 6-hour drive back to Sioux Falls. I did that for 8 weeks. As I was being in the management, told my wife, just quit my job. She's 7 months pregnant. She freaked out.
I'm sure I was thrilled.
Yeah. I just didn't want to do it anymore. Now I kick myself because I could be retired and probably have a little more money than I do. Because UPS went split stock and so on.
Right. So when did you make it back to Ohio then?
1987.
Okay.
After I left UPS, and I decided that I still want to do something sports related. So I was a circulation manager for the Argus Leader newspaper out there.
Okay.
So I was chasing had 72 routes, 5 USA Today routes. So I had a couple of my buddies that were delivering papers because this is a morning paper. So you got to wake the kids up in the morning and do paper route.
Right.
So my guy that's out there dropping bundles, he'd call me on a walkie-talkie and say, "Hey, so-and-so is not up. Ring their doorbell. Get back in your car." So you ring the doorbell and the lights go on, and they know that there's a bundle at your porch.
Right.
I did that, chasing carriers around for about 1.5 years, and then I got with Kmart. I became sports and automotive manager for Kmart. And at that point in time, Kmart split from going like Eastern, Midwestern, and they went just East and West as a corporation. And my general manager, or my district manager, says, "Hey, you're from Ohio, right? You want to go back home?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." He said, "Yeah, pack your shit and go." Yeah, So I ended up in Stowe, Ohio, which is yeah. So I was sports and automotive manager for Kmart in Stowe, Ohio. And wife and I went and bought a car, and I've been in the car business ever since. And I sell cars for 30 years.
Gotcha. Quite a sojourn, quite a journey.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I really appreciate you sharing all this with me. I feel like this is going to beg for an addendum, a part 2.
Oh, absolutely. Part 2, 3, 4.
Let's do the thing here, Jay. But I have to ask, So there is a huge uptick in interest in these Negro Leagues, particularly this year for, of course, the centennial of the formation of the Negro National League back in 1920. Sorry, last year. Now it's 2021. I think a lot of people are probably pretty stoked about that.
Mhm.
But also, of course, a designated period of the Negro Leagues has been reclassified as major leagues. So what does it mean to you to have participated in this greater institution of Negro Leagues baseball?
It's part of history, and I say, like they say, Black History Month. Okay, that's once a month. To me, it's like every day is Black History for myself, because I've been there, I've done it, I've experienced a lot of different things. Growing up as a kid, didn't really experience a lot of racism. I mean, Oberlin's a pretty liberal town, but when I went out and played baseball, and there was always something as far as racism, radical treatment. So yeah, my thing was, I always said, yeah, I'll let my bat do the talking, and yeah, without the Clowns, without going to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Miami, I never would have gone to college. Not playing 1 year of high school baseball, and our baseball team in high school was horrible. Only a couple of us that were serious about it.
I saw, was it Hyde beat you guy? I think they're the ones who took you out in the playoff. I wasn't going to bring that up, but I was just kind of curious how Oberlin's baseball team was.
Horrible.
Oh my! I've actually been to Oberlin a couple times myself. I played football at Earlham College down in here in Richmond, and so when I was playing football here, Oberlin was in our conference. So been Oberlin a couple times.
We call it Earlham. Earlham.
Oh
Earlham?
yeah,
is that how you call it, Earlham?
Yeah, no, you wouldn't. Jay, I worked for Earlham in the admission office for 7 years. You wouldn't believe the amount of people who come to Earlham as students and they're still saying Earlham. So yeah, you're excused by all means. That's part of the parlance, man. If you don't know Earlham, we get it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, I really do appreciate this, and I really look forward to speaking with you some more. And is there anything else you want to add to the for posterity about anything?
No, we'll next time we'll talk. We'll go down to the south. We'll go down in the south, and I mean, if you're pressed for time now, I know you're working. But yeah, we'll trace down to the south, out to the Midwest, and the Northwest, and there's a lot of stories to be told yet. Oh,
absolutely. So I tell you what, then.
You can pick and prod too. You can really get in there. I'll tell off. If you read the Summer Called Clowns book, yeah, I missed that by 2 years.
Right.
And I missed the Bingo Long movie by 2 years.
That's right. So, that's right. That counts 70.
Yeah. So I mean, I know a lot. I got a lot of my stories that about Satch and that from Birmingham Sam.
Well, I tell you what, then, this is what we'll do. We'll put a pin in it for today, and then we'll get something else on the calendar, and then we'll just get into the minutia of all of that next time. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan, man.
All right, Jay. Well, I am going to hit pause on this, and we'll have a bit of a wrap up. But again, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.